becoming is better than being. And that is why we consider ourselves to be a work in progress. It means you're never complete, and it allows you the opportunity to become something or someone better.
Yes, it does allow you the ability to be comfortable while making mistakes and accepting yourself for who you are.
Yes, we are work in progress. Hi, I'm AX.
I'm GW.
And I am Chris M.
Hi, guys.
Well, today you can see we have a new face on the panel.
It's you.
Yes, our lovely GK, is not with us. And I'll be taking the reins in this episode.
Okay.
And to start us off, I felt that it was necessary for us to talk about human behavior.
Okay.
And specifically how certain social experiments have been done with humans, monkeys, animals, just to try and understand the human psyche.
Yes.
And I came across this story. Maybe you've heard it or you've not. Indulge me.
Okay.
So if you haven't heard about it, it's the 5 monkeys experiment.
Okay.
It goes something like this. So a researcher puts 5 monkeys in an experiment room. And there's a bunch of bananas hanging somewhere, easily for them to access.
Yes.
It's like a ladder or it's like a tree, something. And so the first monkey goes up to try to get the bananas, obviously. Monkeys love bananas. And as soon as it gets close to bananas, a researcher sprays like cold water on like the 5 monkeys.
Oh, okay.
So after repetitive attempts of the monkeys trying to get the bananas, the same reaction is given out to them, the cold water. So until at some point, the monkeys realize, hey, these bananas,
there's something about them.
It's not worth it. It's not
dangerous,
worth it.
dangerous. So now, to twist, the experiment, they remove one of the monkeys and introduce a new one. And of course, the new one is like, yo,
There's
Bananas.
it's bananas. So he tries to go for the bananas. And lo and behold, of course, it gets sprayed.
Okay.
Okay, so now they're learning, like, yo, even the new monkeys learned. They introduce a new monkey. This new monkey tries to go for the bananas, but this time the researchers don't spray cold water. But that new monkey gets clobbered
By the
By
other.
the
by the
remaining
others.
4.
Yeah. Like, hey, bro,
Calm down.
calm down. Do not touch those bananas.
Otherwise, we get punished.
So at some point, they switch all the monkeys,
Yes.
like after each consecutive attempt. And this is the point where there are 5 new monkeys who have not been sprayed water, but
Not to go up
not go up there because we get clobbered for touching the bananas. I don't know, how do you guys just first of all feel about that experiment? Because they clearly accepted the situation because that's how things are done.
I mean, it says a lot about human nature, right? This idea that I don't have to experience something in order to enforce that rule on other people. It kind of explains why, like, the laws that were made in like the 50s, we still follow them because they're just there.
It's
They're
been
just
like
there.
that since I can remember.
Yeah.
It's part of conditioning. So if, like you're saying, the laws happened in the 50s or even before
Yeah,
that.
like the 80 or whatever.
Yeah, so those people experienced the effects of breaking the laws, so to speak, and it was passed down
to us.
So like, don't do that because if you do that, there are consequences. Sometimes you don't even know what the consequences are, but there are consequences. So it's part of human conditioning. I think the same thing happened with Pavlov
Yes.
and the Pavlovian dogs, where he used to ring the bell and then bring them food. So he did that enough times to a point where the dogs associated the bell with food. So when he rang the bell, automatically they would salivate. So it's conditioning. I don't know if it's good or bad.
I think you can also, like, depending on, to answer the question of whether or not it's good or bad, you might be able to apply this experiment to politics, right? Because in like a lot of authoritarian regimes where you have like one uber main guy leader, what happens is like the first generation of people who've lived under that guy are really, really like clobbered. Like they get the real experience of what it's like to like live under a dictator, so much so that their kids, so that the kids don't get hurt, the kids learn different lessons about politics. Instead of learning that, hey, you need to agitate for what you want, you need to fight for what you want, maybe the kids learn, work within the system. Make sure, keep yourself safe. Make sure you don't go out and protest because you will get hurt, right? So instead of the state coming in to institute these lessons, it's now the parents that are doing it.
So the parents were sprayed with the cold water.
They're the ones who were sprayed with the cold
then
water.
they're clobbering us.
Yes.
It's better for me.
It's better that it comes from them
than
from the
supreme leader.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So
Now,
maybe that's one use of the experiment.
Another experiment which I also stumbled across, and it's a recommendation I would give our audience.
Yes.
There's a person called Darren Brown. So he's an English mentalist, illusionist, and author who uses the art of suggestion, misdirection, and psychological tricks with a tinge of showmanship.
Okay.
So basically, he has several series where he does certain experiments to test the human condition. And the one that I really, enjoyed, watching was, he called it the heist.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was very audacious at what he wanted to do. So basically, he got like a certain area of London cordoned off like with the police, and his goal was to make a seemingly ordinary person, commit like a bank robbery. Yeah.
Okay.
And for reference, this person primes his people well before the actual day or D-Day. And this is how he did it. So he put a newspaper article, like an advertisement saying, looking for some people who want to learn my tricks.
Oh my goodness.
So that was the ruse. Because people know about him. It's like, yeah, come to my work conference. I'm going to show you some things about human behavior to help you in your business career. So he picked people who are like, of a certain age bracket, work bracket, and just certain like qualities or traits that he's looking for. And during these workshops, he now had certain cues during like the workshop that were like slowly like priming them. So he used words like steal, he used words like take away. Even subtly in one of the slides, he had like an image of the street where they would do the robbery, like flash like 3 times, like differently through the talks.
Okay.
Even at some point, even had like toy guns. The people like who were serving them, like now, like because it was like a whole like hotel dinner. There's a very abrasive like waiter, like you guys need to pay your bill, and like they never knew there was like a bill to be paid. Like just certain things like for them to be responsive to authority in a certain way. So eventually, like at the end of the episode, like without spoilers, he was able to get at least 3 people, if I'm not wrong, to actually commit a bank robbery. Like just through those subtle cues and references. And I would spoil too much, but that really like got me thinking about how susceptible you can be to certain triggers.
Yeah, man.
Okay. A power of suggestion also.
Yeah,
Without even knowing that it's being suggested to you, you end up thinking that it's an organic thought.
Yeah.
But it really comes from it's Inception, right?
Yeah.
Are you guys familiar with the movie, right?
Planting a seed.
Yes, but like, how do you even defend yourself before a court of law? What do you tell a judge?
Wait. That robbery.
Of course, it was staged. Like,
It was staged.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, but
okay.
still.
But like it was real money, a real bank, like real like prop situations, and they did it.
You go to jail.
But how do you tell a judge, hey, by the way, Your Honor, please, I was incepted into robbing this bank?
No, you go to jail. There's nothing.
No one will believe you.
Just go to jail, and you rot there, unfortunately, which is a sad thing. But there's a lot of power in this type of voodooism, which is not really voodoo, but it's voodoo, yeah? So maybe the government should also look into, see, a guy like that, what if he decides to do that thing, not as an experiment,
For real.
Like
but for real, yeah. And see, he does that, he manipulates you to doing something like that. You bring the loot, he's gone. You're left in the
pits.
Yeah, I wanted to say something else, but yeah. So, conditioning is good. It's bad. I mean, it can be good if used for good, if that even makes any sense. It doesn't make sense, but just let it flow.
Okay,
it can be good, I think.
I'm going to let it flow.
Please, yeah.
Okay, I think it's time to move on to our next segment. This segment is called What's New, and today we have a very simple question. Do cultural groups have the right to exclusivity? Now, let me explain what I mean by way of an example. Is it okay for certain cultural groups to have like spaces, events, or holidays that are just for them, to the point where they can say, for example, if it's like Black History Month, right? You can say as a Black person, like, hey, you as a white person, like, you can't contribute to this month. This is ours. Should cultural groups have that right to exclude people? Yes or no?
No.
No? Yes or no? Or it depends?
Kind of.
No, you just give yes or no, then in your explanation.
Okay.
Yes or no?
I think yes, but like with a explanation. But you go first.
Okay.
Okay. I believe each group of people should have their own, I'll say safe space, but I don't like that word. But you should be able to be by yourselves at times. It's okay. Growing up, you used to have Boy Scouts. That's time for these boys to be by themselves, to be taught things that boys are supposed to learn at a certain age. Girls, they had brownies and some other things. Girl guides.
Scouts.
Be by yourselves at that point. But telling other people you can't contribute, I might have a problem with that, because like, for example, let me use the story of Black History Month. Black History Month is about black people celebrating their excellence, their history and all that, yeah? But that history did not happen in a vacuum. There are other people who also contributed to that history happening. Yeah. Some of them were white people, some of them were Indian, some of them were Asian. So you just excluding them indiscriminately, something like that. Yeah. It's a bit strong cause. Culture should not be... There's cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation, right? Appreciation, yeah. If we are doing it to appreciate your culture, you locking us out doesn't help your cause, I feel, yeah? But if you are appropriating, which is we are using it for profit and all that, maybe at that point we can tell you, get out. Yeah. It's no longer...
You can't sit with us.
Fun, yeah, having you around. So I'm okay with us mixing up to the point where you now start appropriating the culture.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so my yes, no, maybe view, now that you've spoken, is still on the same
wavelength.
Like wavelength. I believe, and this is now even this experience from like being in university. Yeah. You would even tell, like just walking through uni, there was certain like societies, clubs, which had a proper aura like around them. So like there's people who are in all the sports clubs, people who are in like the music like clubs and other like different facets. When they would go out, they would have events like, let's say at within uni, like in different social rooms or within certain bars and like, you know, venues that were exclusive to them. Like if you don't have membership to that club, then sorry you can't. And sometimes I think that's necessary because it cultivates like competitive culture, a competitive culture, to the extent that there would be inter-club like mixes and competitions where that was like really, really hot. So you'll have like a pub quiz, you'll have like a sporting event, and because of that exclusivity and like lack of mixing, it really charged people up, and I liked that aspect of it. Like no, you like yes, this is us. No one can get the inside jokes, the insides out, like the quirks, and that's my part where I feel like sometimes it should be like like that. Okay. The other part now, which is like, I mean, culture is what it is because of mixing. Yes. Like you can't only learn from one thing. Yes. So you pick and. You know, that's why I said like the appreciation part. Yeah. You get to pick and learn different things from different cultures. Yeah. And that's what makes it better or flourish. Yeah. So yeah.
All right, so let me ask you guys another question, because we've been talking about minority groups that want to, you know, create their own exclusive spaces. And let's talk about the groups in power. Like if let's say like I'll stick to race, not gender, for obvious Chris M related reasons, but if let's say like a group of white people were like, hey, this is a white space, you can't have black people or Indian people or people of color in general in this space, would you guys still say it's okay for a cultural group to have the right to exclusivity?
Yes.
If they're like in the power, bring the world down. Bring the world down.
I believe so, because right now, and I believe I did ask you this a few months ago. When you're black, you're taught to love your culture, love your blackness, and all that. We have Black History Month, where that whole month we talk up black.
So actually, a little bit of a clarification. So the messages that you're constantly hearing about, like black self-empowerment, black excellence, black self-love, are as a result of the implicit messages that we all get from a very young age that being black, negative, that being black is bad. Like there were studies being conducted, like the 70s or 80s, where like a black little girl was told, "Hey, pick the good doll," and they picked the white doll, and then the scientist was like, "Okay, now where's the bad doll?" And then she picked the black one, right? For no other reason than that everything she's seen in the media is showing you that being black is bad.
Black is bad, light is good,
right? Yeah, yeah. So when you hear these messages of people being like, hey, black people, like we need to stand up for ourselves, we are great, we are excellent, we have all this rich history we have to be proud of, it's as a response to those messages. Just wanted to clarify that before you go where you're going, because I think I know where you're going. Okay. Proceed.
So what I was saying is, when we're celebrating black culture and Black History Month and all this, we are telling a black kid, it's okay to be black, celebrate that, that's fine, yeah? But you forget, we are leaving the white kid behind. And I remember asking you this question.
Where he's been ahead his whole life.
You see, that messaging is the same thing that has happened in Kenya or in Africa, when we used to, the boy child used to be quite ahead of the girl child, right? And then the girl child was empowered to a point where right now
they feel like there's neglect.
Yeah, there's something along those lines, yeah. And I did ask this to AX a while back about there are these T-shirts people wear. Melanin popping, melanin is beautiful, black is beautiful. And I asked AX if a white person wore a shirt written
Spicy.
white is beautiful, would you catch feelings?
Yes.
Why?
Because that doesn't need to be in a shirt. Everything about society already tells you that being white is beautiful.
They're just celebrating what they are. I'm okay with white people being by themselves, black people being by themselves, as long as we're just doing that to celebrate our own culture. Like, let's say we have Africa Night in the US, right? And it's black people just going there, discussing Africanness, eating our own food and all that. That's nice. That's okay. Now, if white people in America were to have Irish Night, for argument's sake, yeah? And they be by themselves, they drink all the beer they want to eat, they eat potatoes. I'm like, I mean, it's okay. Have fun. That's nice, yeah? That separation is nice. But no island. Yeah, it's okay. Not everything has to be negative just because they are white or just because they are Indian or just because they're Chinese.
I'll say this. There's a certain, I think to reach a certain point where in society would have integrated so much and intermixed, so what, like, we pray that happens, you know, in our, hopefully a near future, before we've, you know, destroyed the planet, that we'll even forget that there's a certain bias, there's a certain institutional differences within us that we don't care anymore, you know what I mean? Like, for example, imagine the women's liberation and their rights. It has gotten to a point where it's not great, but like there's certain things that society is forgetting of how to treat women, and it's changing. So until that point, like, is really felt, then it will still be an awkward feeling.
So it's weird for white people to have their own
like spaces.
But it's okay.
No, they can have their spaces, but it still feels like they're imposing, like, even in their own spaces. I don't know how to explain it.
I think. Okay, hang on. Let me try to explain it, because the best way I can explain it is, so after the ruling of Brown versus Board of Education, the one that said that separate but equal does not work, and it's never been equal. It's actually just an inferior standard for black people, right?
Just give a bit of background in the case.
Sorry. So Brown versus Board of Education was a conglomerate of cases brought before the U.S. Supreme Court. It was challenging this idea that, like, it's this idea of separate but equal, where black and white people had their own separate spaces, but those spaces were equal in terms of the quality of service that you got. It was not true, and the Supreme Court said, yeah, separate but equal is not constitutional, and they struck it down. Now, in response, a lot of white communities now realizing that, hey, we have to let black people into our school, basically pulled their kids out of those schools and sent them to private academies, and as a result that, like, drained the ability of that school to, like, keep running as well as it was before. Because remember,
they were getting funding.
Yeah, they were getting funding from the government.
Buildings written Chris M building.
Yeah,
just so all your generation children can go to that school.
That was a legacy thing.
Yeah. So traditionally, whenever you have white people kind of isolating themselves, they kind of also take the resources with them, which is why for me it's problematic. Which is why for me it's problematic to have, like, white only spaces, because much of society is kind of like a white space.
Okay.
I'm speaking from experience. I am speaking from experience.
Another example, just to draw this away from the white and black issue. Think about, like, the monks and those monasteries. Not just any Tom, Dick and Harry can go there. Like, there has to be, you have to go there with a certain guide, certain times of the year. And that is celebrated. They do their own thing, they keep to themselves, they do their chants for the world, and that space is reserved. No, Mambo Mingi, like, none of it there. So if that could be applied in the same, like, this kind of conversation, then maybe it makes sense. You know what I mean?
I guess.
Okay.
I guess.
Okay, all right. So we're going to leave it there. Why don't you guys have a think about this question and let us know what you think. Do cultural groups have the right to exclusivity, and is it all groups? Is this an equal right or not? Why are you laughing? Okay, so allow us to take a quick break and we will be back with our final segment. Bye.
And we are back. Now, to end the show, we decided to have a bit of a you are this when kind of segment. And the twist is, you're African, or you have African parents when.
Yes.
And to make this more fun, on our socials, please tell us what your experiences are. Christian, would you like to have the floor?
Yeah. I like to have the floor. Let me go. Yeah. So when I was young, when you're young, you make silly mistakes. You're growing up. So in my household, whatever my parents' home, we used to have utensils for the guests and then for everyone else. So for us, it was the plastic
in like a wardrobe.
You slide
and it's locked with the key, and the key's in mommy's room. Yes.
So now, unfortunately for us, it wasn't locked. It was just like a sliding glass. Yeah. And it was glass. No, so for us, the ordinary folk, we used to use plastic to drink water, to eat. So every once in a while, I would want, being a kid, I'd want to go and take the nice plates, the nice glass, drink water. So me, I've broken a few. So there's a time my mother came in and found the mess on the floor. It's like, what happened? Like, I was trying to use this one. I'm like, oh, just break them all. See, I have money. See, I'm rich. Just break them all.
Break all of them.
Then in the same vein, same instance or rather, she started whipping me. And so what I did was, I cried.
You cry, yeah.
Then you cry, and she's like, why are you crying?
I'll give you something to cry.
I'll give you something to cry. I'm like, you already gave me something to cry about. You just whooped me right now. What am I supposed to do? So African parents, they used to do that. They encourage you to do something. You do something. Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
Just continue.
Go.
Then you do that, you're whipped, and you cry. You're told, I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah.
So that's one of the main things. Like growing up, that was one of the main things that used to happen in my household. Like, just break them all, and I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah. So what are your experiences like?
Man, I don't know about you, but have your parents ever apologized to you?
Well, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting.
Wherefore? Exactly. So like I feel like there's a time in my life where I know I was right. My mom knew she was wrong. There was evidence. No apology. You just move. And then the one that has always pissed me off. It's like me, I'm chilling in my room, I'm vibing to the vibes of my room. Then I got called downstairs. It's like, hey, actually, please come and get me this thing. It's the remote. It's right. Yeah, she can reach it with her hand. She's like, no, but you come. It's too far.
She gave birth, so that's
She has
free
ownership.
labor.
Ownership.
Come and do the
99-year lease. Okay.
More like 18, yeah.
Or
18 non-stop.
Or my favorite one is. This one time we were having a conversation, and then I was asked a question, and then when I replied to the question, I got told off for talking back. And you're like, but you asked me a question. It's like, no, it's fine.
And if you don't answer, you're like, I'm talking to you. Like,
what do you want me to do?
You damned if you do,
damned if you don't.
Yeah. African parents.
The one which it still baffles me to this day. Let's say you're having fun in the estate, you've done your nonsense, then you get hurt. You come back, Mom, look, I've hurt myself. And you're beaten for being hurt.
Yeah, for being hurt. Yeah.
Why
are you playing outside?
Why are you playing outside to begin with?
Here are your whips.
The other one is you're about to go, like, let's say you're going to church or going to something. Carry a sweater. The first time it's hot. I want a sweater. Carry a sweater. Okay, fine. But then the day you don't carry that sweater, and then you try to complain that you're feeling cold, game over. So I told you. To carry that sweater.
Or remember this thing. When you are a bit older, you tell your mother or your father, I'm hungry or something like that. Like, it's because you're always watching TV.
Yeah.
They always take two things that are not related and just link them. Like, how is me being hungry
related to me watching TV?
I don't understand, but you love them for that.
That for anything that's wrong with the body, drink hot water.
Yes, or Vicks.
Or Vicks, yeah, vapor rub. And it used to work, weirdly. There's this Maasai concoction that they sell. We had something like that at home. I think it was called GV or some other thing. You have a stomach upset, you're given one mug, drink that one. You have headache, drink that one. It was called Morubaini.
Yes, that's the one. It's
whatever ailment you have. I don't know, this serious ailment. Just have that one mug.
And the age-old story, like when you're trying to tell them about your problems. Yes. I had to walk 50 kilometers, fight 2 lions to go to school.
And your man, you're like, see, I've been to Shag. Show me your school. Where are these 50 kilometers coming from?
They never let you forget that.
Or alternatively, when it's the thing that is always, and my mom always tells me, is that, oh, you think you have it bad? hey, you don't know what your guka used to do. And it's like, hey, how is this my problem?
Your trauma is not my trauma.
And the guka was like 1950s.
Yeah, and you're like,
so what am I supposed to do with that information right now? But I mean,
we love them. We love our parents.
I can't wait to be a parent.
Will we be the
to
same?
torment my kids?
For
okay. Sure.
The question is, will our kids have the same complaints?
No, I'll tell them. You're complaining because you have 100 Mbps internet.
Ah.
You don't know what I used to go to. It was 5 Mbps, and you know. It will be different.
Something.
Yeah, I'll find something from my generation and torment them with that one, for sure. Yeah. You're complaining because you're eating pizza with cheese, kidogo.
And the cheese is a nice cheese. I'm sorry.
Mine was expired or something. I don't know. I'll just have something and then I'll just torment them with that. Useless as it is, I have to be an African parent my kid.
You have to be.
For the culture.
Yeah, you should pass on culture.
Pass it on.
And on that light note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching, and we'll be with you next week.
Bye.
See you next time.